Did you know that 2/3 of all of the people in the world have never actually seen snow? Welcome back to OHC Youth Live. So here's how things are going to go down this evening. First, I'm going to give you a little update into an insight into a conversation I had with one of your small group leaders. We're going to continue our conversation on our series called Choose Your Own Adventure. We're seeing our journey of knowing God and all of the things that that entails as an adventure that you and I are on. After that, we'll be heading to our Zoom call for some small group time and connection together, and we'll be playing a game right before that. Now, I'm Pastor Ryan. I'm the youth pastor here at Oak Haven Church, so if you're new joining us, that's me. But I want to jump right into our conversation about adventures and coffee with Andrew Turner. Let's take a look. Hey guys, I'm sitting here with Andrew. Got a couple guests. We got Ethan and Merritt. Thanks for joining us, guys. Good to see you. But Andrew and I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing today. So our series is about adventure. So Andrew, I know we've talked a lot about different adventures that you've been on. I want you to tell me about something fun you've done.
Yeah, I don't know. I go on lots of adventures. I like to get away from people once in a while. Y'all kind of annoy me at the end of the day. Not really, but kind of. So one that I like to do a lot, almost every year, is the Superior Hiking Trail. So I like to go hiking for several days. I like to check out the fall colors. And then one that I've really enjoyed recently is the Boundary Waters, BWCA 2020, maybe. I don't know. Either way, yeah. So that's one thing I really enjoy doing.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you need to bring with you on an adventure?
Need? That's the wrong question. So. Well, maybe. I don't know. So basically, when you're going backpacking or to the Boundary Waters, it's like glorified homelessness. So the whole idea is, what can I leave behind? There's very few things that you absolutely need. Otherwise, you have to carry it with you the whole time. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But, I can't leave without my coffee. I need coffee everywhere I go.
Nice.
Yeah. No, you got to make your own, because I'm not that nice.
Wow.
And COVID.
I suppose COVID's a thing. Well, I guess if I'm not having coffee, we should cut back to OHC Youth Live. Thanks for nothing, Andrew. I wanted coffee. How was I supposed to get through my day without it? No, I'm just kidding. It's all good. There's forgiveness even for that. Anyway, thanks for the interview. I think you're right. I think that's a great example of an adventure, of being able to go on the hiking trails or going up to the Boundary Waters. I think a lot of us think of things like that when we think about adventures. Now, when I think about adventures, I usually think about adventure movies. And these movies are ones where it's not just our hero, it's not just one hero, it's usually a team of heroes who are journeying together and are trying to protect each other. So I want to show you a clip from The Lord of the Rings. I am a little nervous about copyright stuff. We have the rights to show it, but we'll be keeping an eye on just so it doesn't interrupt the stream. But I think it's important for us to still see it to guide our conversation into this. So we just found out that the ring needs to be destroyed, and that's going to be dangerous. Let's take a look.
I will help you bear this burden, Frodo Baggins, as long as it is yours to bear.
If by my life or death I can protect you, I will. You have my sword.
And you have my bow.
And my axe.
Carry the fate of us all, little one. If this is indeed the will of the Council, then Gondor will see it done.
Mr. Frodo's not going anywhere without me.
No, indeed, it is hardly possible to separate you, even when he is summoned to a secret council, and you are not.
Wait! We're coming too! We'll have to send us all tied up in a sack to stop it.
Anyway, you need people of intelligence on this sort of mission. Quest. Thank you.
I love that that example. You need somebody of intelligence on this person quest thing. We have 9 adventurers who choose to risk their lives to support this one mission. They're going to be going on an adventure together. Now, that's something that one person couldn't do by themselves, and so the rest are volunteering themselves to help out in one way or another. Now, you might think of a different adventure movie. So Lord of the Rings isn't the only example. I'm sure most of you are surprised that I didn't use Star Wars this time. Haha, gotcha. But just like a journey to Mordor, or to the Upside Down, or that creepy antique store to save Forky. Toy Story reference, anyone? Or heading into a galaxy far, far away. You and your faith aren't made to go this journey alone. You need people to walk alongside with you. So on your journey of faith, you can't always choose what happens, but you can choose those who walk alongside you. So last week we talked about how knowing God is the greatest journey that we can ever take. Why? Because knowing God is an adventure. It's not a formula. It's not a step-by-step system to get there. It's an adventure. It's something that we don't know what it looks like. And part of that is spending time with God. That is one of the key parts of that adventure. Because knowing Him is exciting. But these next 3 weeks, so today and 2 more, I want to talk about different ways that we can grow in our relationship with God, that we can grow in that adventure. So spending time with God is a good first step, but it's not the only step that you and I need to take. So if we want to make it on this journey of knowing Jesus, we need to think about the people that we're journeying with. We need to think about the people who interact with us and they impact our faith. I continued my conversation with Andrew about this one, so we'll get to that in just a minute. But here's where we pick up our series called Choose Your Own Adventure. Tech problems, woohoo! Just a little dance while we get it going. So just a minute ago, I said that you choose the people that you go on your adventure with. And maybe you have a problem with that. Maybe you're thinking, but Ryan, I didn't choose my family. Or I didn't choose who I go to school with or who lives in my neighborhood. Or maybe you're in a place where you don't know about a friend that you can depend on or rely on, let alone having several friends to even choose from. And maybe for you, if you had a choice, you would choose who's on this adventure with you a little bit differently. And so you're right, especially at your age, there's only so much control you have over your life and over your relationships. So I get it. You might feel powerless to change where you're at right now. Now, you can't make perfect friends just appear out of thin air. I know you can't snap your fingers like Thanos and make everything right with the people in your life right now. But there is something you can do. You can choose to invest your time into a few great relationships. These are the kind of relationships that will propel you forward into the future. The ones that will help you improve and grow and become the best version of yourself that you can be and that I believe God made you to be. So, what relationships are those? Now, these ones may not be the ones you expect. There's a really famous book in Proverbs, which, by the way, we're doing a reading challenge through the book of Proverbs, and so if you haven't started that yet, got a little catch-up to do, but it's definitely possible. But the Proverbs have so much wisdom in there, and many of them talk about relationship. Now, what a proverb is simply a short saying. It's something that wise that people would say. So this book of the Bible called Proverbs, go figure, is full of them. I want to read you a couple of these verses. Let's take a look. So Proverbs 12 verse 26 says this, "The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray." And then chapter 13 verse 20 says this, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Now, for you, this probably isn't a revolutionary idea. You've heard some things like this before, so here's a couple of them. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. And it means who you hang out with is who you're going to become like. That makes sense. That's just how the world works. What about this? Who you spend time with is who you become. That's the same saying, just worded a different way, and I've heard both of them over the years. Now, these pieces of wisdom are very well known, and part of that is because they're true. And I think that's why God put sayings just like this in the Bible, because we need that wisdom. We become like the people that we surround ourselves with. And so if we want to get closer to Jesus, or if you don't know where you stand on faith, if you want to learn more about Jesus to see if he's worth your time, whichever side of that you're on, doesn't it make sense to surround yourself with other people doing the same thing? Doesn't it make sense, if you want to grow in your relationship with God, to surround yourself with people who also want to grow in their relationship with God? Or if you're not really sure what knowing God means for you and in your life, doesn't it make sense to surround yourself with people also asking that question? What does this mean for me? Now, when I was in high school, actually way before high school, let me back up, I met a friend. His name is Jake Nordic. Hey Jake, if you ever see this, good to see you. We became fast friends somewhere around 3rd grade. Neither one of us really remember meeting for the first time. We remember just becoming friends. And I don't really know what that looked like or how it was, but it was fun. It's good to have a friend. It's good to have a close friend. And over the years, we learned that we could trust each other. We learned that we could share the things that we enjoyed doing and thinking about. I remember a couple times that we tried to write books. We'd open up our computer and just start typing stories, whatever came to our heads. And we got so excited, we'd share ideas with each other and talk about what we were thinking about that would happen in the story. We even talked about what it would look like to have a crossover between our books. Now, as our friendship grew, we began to share more serious things with each other. Questions about God, questions about the Bible, questions about sin in our life, and how we can get rid of it so that we can know Jesus better. And I just want to let you know, Jake is one of my best friends today still. He lives all the way down in Florida, and yet we still talk regularly. We talked on the phone just earlier today just to catch up and see how life was. And we still pray for each other. And that's a friendship that I value because he encouraged me in my faith, and he encouraged me to know God more. And I think he would say the same about me as well. Now, this relationship in some ways was an accident. We happened to be in that 3rd grade class together. I didn't choose that. I didn't say, yep, that's the guy, I want to be in his class because I'm going to be his friend. That's not how it worked. But this relationship in the end was a choice because we chose to spend more time together. We chose to share our lives, and we chose to talk about our faith and our belief in God honestly and openly. Now, I hope that you can have relationships in your life that do the same thing. I hope that, just like Proverbs says, that you can surround yourself with people to help you be wise. That you can choose your friends carefully, because that matters a lot. Now, I was able to talk to Andrew a little bit more about his experience of someone pouring into his life. So let's take a look at that. So Andrew, tell me, we're talking about how other people affect our faith and how we're on adventure together. Tell me about someone who was instrumental in your faith.
I would say Luke Olson is probably the most influential in my faith. He was somebody that I met when I was in college up at University of Minnesota Duluth. Go Bulldogs! Anybody? No, probably not.
Not yet, probably
yet.
not.
Man.
I mean, if anybody from Bulldogs are watching, give this guy a shout out.
Good school, you should go there, just saying. Yeah, price is right too. Anyway, so Luke Olson, though, he really challenged me to engage people who didn't have the same beliefs as I had or have. And he was very supportive in the role of, I guess, helping me learn how to have those conversations and then come back from them and critiquing me of like, hey, you did this really well, this is something you could do better. Yeah, so that was very important to me. And he just had a way of talking to people that engaged them on their level, and he always had an interest in something that, you know, in just the way that people lived. I don't know, there was just something about him that he could just have those conversations. I don't know how he did it. It was amazing.
You know, for some people just have that genuineness.
Yes, yep.
Where they're just able to share from their heart about kind of what they believe and where they're at, and they're able to connect with other people regardless of where they are.
Yep.
Oh, that's really good. So I hope that we can continue to grow in that way by having positive relationships of other people with faith, and also learn what it looks like to have those relationships with people who don't share our faith, so that we can grow in that way as well. So thanks for having this conversation, Andrew.
Yeah.
Enjoy your coffee.
Thanks.
And well, back to OHC Youth Live. Thanks for sharing about someone who influenced you and your relationship with God. I think it really matters for all of us to learn about how other people are doing this and who we met to help us learn. I had asked a question during that, just who it was in your lives that encouraged you. I didn't plan this. I didn't say this into the stream, so this is just in the chat. But Chloe talked about her friends and family. Hannah says her best friends, all of them, which is wonderful. And I think those are really good answers. We have people in our lives who are able to encourage us in our relationship with God. I'm scrolling up, and Ginny, I want you to know, after watching that clip that I had prepared for today, I also really wanted to go watch Lord of the Rings, and so I have to go figure out a time to make that happen because, boy, oh boy, those movies are awesome. Dawson, I didn't say this earlier on stream, but I'm really glad you're here. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. And I also like that you all appreciated my dance during some technical issues because I have a lot of dancing skills. This is it right here. Anyway. So I want to tell you another story from my life. I had a friend in college who did not believe in God. And I actually don't remember. They were either an atheist or an agnostic. An atheist is they don't believe in God at all, and an agnostic is, well, God, it's possible he's out there. One of the two. But this individual and I became close friends. We hung out a lot. We spent a lot of time together. They actually came to some Bible studies and some church services and asked a lot of really good questions. This friend really encouraged me to dig into my relationship with God, to ask the tough questions, and to try and find answers to some questions that I've never thought about before, so that in the future, when I talk about them and think about them, I know why I believe what I believe. Now, when I talked to this person about my faith, they were interested and they were polite, but they didn't want it. You know, you might think that I told you that story because I was interacting with this person who didn't believe the same thing I did, and then I convinced them otherwise. That's not true in this case. Now, because of my relationship with this person, my relationship with God grew stronger, which isn't what you think would happen in that type of situation. But the point I'm trying to make is I grow closer to God because of the people that I choose to be on adventure with. And that's both people who believe in God as well and want to get closer to Him, and those who don't. Now, what you might think is there's a danger there. What if you're surrounded only by people who don't believe in God? And that's a real challenging thing. And I think we need to be careful not to mix the two, right? You don't go to someone who doesn't believe in God to ask questions about people who do believe in God, because there's a different way of thinking. You know, you want to go towards people who are asking the same kind of questions. That being said, you also want the tough questions, right? That's why here at OHC Youth, we want to invite conversation. We want to make sure that you have a place to belong, whether or not you believe exactly the same thing as everybody else. Because we believe that you belong here and you deserve a place to ask questions about who God is and why He matters for your life. And I think this is one of the best places for that to happen. Now, Jesus himself spent a lot of time with people who didn't believe the same thing as him. You know, and in fact, there were people who followed Jesus, like they physically followed him around, who hadn't yet decided to follow him at all with their lives. So I'm going to look at a section from the book of Mark chapter 2. Let's take a look at this together. Once again, Jesus went out beside the lake. A large crowd came to him, and he began to teach them. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," Jesus told him, and Levi got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with the tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. I have come not to call the righteous, but sinners." This is a little strange. Jesus is spending all of his time, or large majority of it, with people who don't follow him. They're people who have conversations with him. This is Jesus. This is the guy. But they're not dedicating their lives to him. Not yet, anyway. They're just hanging out and getting to know each other. And I think that's important for us to see that Jesus did that. Because in the church, it's so easy for us just to get stuck talking to people who agree with us. If you spent any time on social media at all, you see that people tend to block other people who don't say all the same stuff as them. I mean, just look at this COVID situation. My Facebook feed is filled with people of various opinions. And I'm very careful not to block anybody because of their opinions. Why? Because the second I do that, the more everybody seems to sound like me. And the more everybody sounds like me, the less I know what's true. Now, the more I hear different points of view, the more I'm able to see different points of view. I'm able to see different ideas and arguments, and I hope, I see the world just a little bit more clearly. So that's why it's important to make sure that we're allowing ourselves to be friends with anybody, even people who don't believe the same thing as we do. Now, I think Jesus wants us to do that. He didn't show up to dinner with a whole bunch of people who didn't believe the same on accident. To him, these relationships were a choice. He sought them out on purpose. That's the main point of today. Both of these passages clearly teach us that our relationships are a choice. They're not an accident. Let me say that again because I want this to sink in. Our relationships are a choice, not an accident. Now, these religious leaders, the Pharisees, they were shocked that Jesus would spend time with tax collectors and sinners. Because these are the bad people. These are the people who don't fit into community. They don't fit into society. They don't fit in, period. And yet, Jesus is sitting there with them. And if I'm being honest, I get why they're concerned. Because they're concerned that Jesus is going to be influenced by the people he's surrounding himself by, and that he will become more like them. That he might lose his belief in God. Which of course is silly. They didn't understand that Jesus was God, but from their point of view, I get it. And I think that's one of the dangers of being intentional, of choosing who we spend time with. Because we need people in our life to encourage us. And also, we need people in our life to challenge us. Those things are both really important, and they both only happen on purpose. Who is it in your life who challenges you in your faith? Some people encourage your faith. Some people promote it. They help you think through it. And then other people, they challenge it. And they help you think through it. It's funny how that works. That both ways, both relationships in our lives can help us to know God. These seem like opposite things, but they're important questions to think about. I want you to think about these. Let me read these off for you. Why do you think it's important to surround yourself with others interested in following Jesus? Why is it also important to have friends who don't also follow Jesus? Good questions. How can close relationships with people who don't follow Jesus help you grow closer to Jesus? Do you see that? That question is tricky, but I think it's important for us to be thinking about. Because every relationship in your life affects how your faith plays out. They all affect how your relationship with God is going to go. And so the question that we need to answer is this relationship here going to help me grow closer to God or not? The people we're already hanging out with, is that true? Am I growing closer to God because of them? Are we having conversations about God? Are we trying to figure out what this means and why our lives even matter at all? If we want to make it on this adventure of following Jesus, we need people to join us on the journey. We need people to join us on the journey. Because your relationships are a choice. They're not an accident. That's kind of my main point today. So, guys, there's a few questions that I want to make sure you are able to spend some time with during small groups. And I know some of you might get there, some of you might not, but I think this conversation is really important for us. I think this is key, and I think it's something that we don't talk about often enough. So I hope you take it seriously, and I hope you get to a point where you can have a good talk about it. But for now, I'm going to pray, we're going to talk to God, and then we'll head over into our music time. So out of respect for God, let's put our heads down, let's close our eyes, and let's pray together. Lord Jesus, thank you for a chance to talk about the people in our lives who encourage us to know you. God, help us to build a community of people who ask good questions, who encourage each other, and who challenge each other. God, we pray that you'd be here with us tonight, that you'd bless every single one listening, and that you'd help us to know you more. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
How great the chasm that lay between us, how high the mountain I could not climb, In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The work is finished, the end is written. Jesus Christ, my living hope.
Who could imagine so great a mercy? What heart could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my shame. The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Oh, hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your very body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your very body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Jesus, yours is the victory. Oh, hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Oh, hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Jesus Christ, my living hope.
Our God is so good. I love that song. I'm grateful to our worship team here at Oak Haven Church as they are able to bring us some great music. I've got a few announcements for us before we head over to our Zoom. And before we do that, I just want you to know that our small group time is really important. It's a chance for us to connect on a real level. I know many of you are missing each other, you're missing a chance of connection, and I think this is the place for that to happen. So please don't skip out on our Zoom talks. I think it's a really good chance for us to just hang out. I think it's going to be really good. So first announcement is we are continuing our Bible reading challenge through the book of Proverbs. We're calling this our Wisdom Challenge. We do have prizes for those who finish. Just a reminder, every single day has one chapter. For example, today is May 20th, meaning we are reading Proverbs chapter 20. In order to get the prizes, we're having you fill out a journal or a piece of paper just with a thought or three every single day on every single chapter. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be a paragraph, just something that you notice from the verses or something that stuck out to you as important. Next announcement is next week is Step Up Night. That means all of our current 5th graders are invited to begin joining us here for youth group. Guys, you have a chance to be the most welcoming people ever. You have a chance to show our incoming 6th graders what it looks like to have a community of people who care about each other, who created space for us to learn more about God, and to create a space just for us to have some fun. Like, I love it when you guys goof off in the chat, because it's fun. It's something that all of us need. So please be ready next week with your most welcoming self. Excuse me. Next announcement is we are continuing to have Breakfast Club every Sunday morning. So a few of you showed up this week, and Zoom was broken, which is unfortunate. And we found out that it was actually nationwide. It wasn't just us. So I am so sorry about that. Now, we did have a good backup. We ended up doing some video chat in our Discord. So if you're not part of our Discord server, that's a great place to have conversation and chat if you need it. But that is your choice, whatever you want to do. I'd love to hang out with you there. Let's head to our small groups. I'm about to throw the link in the chat. The same link is also in the description on this video. Dawson Nelson, I am looking forward to having you join us on Zoom tonight. It'd be good to have you there. So if you could click on that Zoom link, that would be great. Thank you for joining us at OHC Youth Live, and I can't wait to see you next week. Have a good night, everybody.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the sun sets free, always free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free at last, he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the sun sets free, always free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child coast away on a lonely shore. I can see in your eyes, dear, it's hard to take for a moment more. We've got to
burn the ships, cut the ties, send a flare into the night. Say a prayer, turn the tide, dry your tears and wave goodbye.
step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back. Don't let it arrest you. This fear of falling again. And if you need a refuge, I will be right here until the end. Oh, it's time to
Burn the ships, cut the ties, send a flare into the night. Say a prayer, turn the tide, dry your tears and wave goodbye.
step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back.
So long to shame, walk through the sorrow, out of the fire, into tomorrow.
So flush the pills, face the fear, feel the weight disappear. We're coming clean, we're born again. Our hopeful lungs can breathe again. Oh, we can breathe again. And step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, yeah. So light a match, leave the past, burn the ships, and don't you look back. And don't be the shining light, breaking chains that were holding me. You sent your son down and set me free. Everything of this world will fade. I'm pressing on till I see your face. I will live that your will be done. I won't stop till your kingdom